Few people could imagine that taking a bubble bath could pose a serious health risk. Most children love their bath time. It's hard to imagine that a health problem could possibly exist. Scalding water, perhaps. A mishap while playing. Have you ever wondered what your child might be bathing in? Is it possible that ingredients in their bubble bath could pose a health hazard? Belinda, a masseur and aromatherapist, was a regular user of a commonly available shampoo until she began to experience health problems.
I've always had a dry scalp, itchy scalp, even to the point where I've had hair loss from it. I consulted a natural therapist and thought, well, what can I do about it? I didn't know whether it was something that was to do with the scalp or whether it was an internal issue. And itchiness is gone within 2 weeks of starting using the hair care that she got me onto. It's gone.
Belinda was made aware of the connection between her scalp and skin problems and the products she used after a visit to naturopath Kathy Goomer. Kathy is a naturopath with many years' experience in helping patients solve health issues. Most people would not normally link a health complaint to the personal care products they use, but in Kathy's practice, it's not uncommon.
Miriam came in to see me because of intense itchy scalp, and she was getting constant urinary tract infections. So basically what we did, we put her on the machine, we did some testing, and her chemical sensitivity point was coming up. Now to me that's an indicator that her problem is possibly chemical caused. So we went through a list of chemicals on the machine, and basically one of the main ones that came up was sodium lauryl sulfate. And from my experience, sodium lauryl sulfate is first of all, a skin irritant, therefore itchy scalp's quite common, but also the sodium lauryl sulfate in bubble bath is known to create urinary tract infections. So on questioning, Miriam's actually having 2 bubble baths, or was having 2 bubble baths a week. So we're going to attack this from the angle of removing a lot of her sodium lauryl sulfate that she's putting onto her body, and we're just going to see what happens.
Every day we use personal care products like these, but do they really care for our health? Many of these commonly used Australian products contain ingredients that can cause health problems. Harsh ingredients which are also found in industrial products like brake fluid and degreasers. Substances like sodium lauryl sulfate and propylene glycol. So what are the dangers of just these 2 ingredients which are used in shampoos, cosmetics, conditioners, lotions and other personal care products?
If we're talking about the chemicals sodium lauryl sulfate, propylene glycol, which are in virtually all of the products, bar a very few, sodium lauryl sulfate, for example, is a skin irritant. Now, why anybody would want to put a skin irritant on their scalp or their face is beyond me. To me, they're very aging, creating wrinkles, sagging, hair, a lot of hair falling, because it's corroding away at the hair follicle. Propylene glycol, very, very similar types of symptoms. So I'm seeing from a clinical point of view a lot of dandruff, a lot of drooping, heavy skin, women with many, many wrinkles. Knowing what I know now, you couldn't pay me to use them.
Yeah, there are a lot of the common substances tend to be chemicals that are used in industry. For instance, a lot of harsh industrial cleaners have found their ways into shampoos. Classic examples of potentially harmful ingredients would include sodium lauryl sulfate. Sodium lauryl sulfate is an engine degreasant. It's used for stripping grease off garage floors. It's very good at doing that. It's very good at giving you squeaky hair. The problem with SLS, of course, is that it has a low molecular weight, which means that it enters the body very quickly, and it will store itself cumulatively in many of the organs of the body. The ethoxylated or alcoholized version of SLS is known as sodium laureth sulfate. This is slightly less irritating than SLS, but the potential for SLES is to release dioxins. 1,4-dioxane is incredibly harmful. In fact, it was one of the ingredients in Agent Orange.
Dr. Mark Donohue is a leading practitioner who specialises in environmental medicine. He often treats disorders that are a result of exposure to various environmental toxins.
There are a lot of items commonly used in personal care products that have got good evidence of not being safe and not being good for your health. And the typical ones are the glycol ethers, best known one being propylene glycol, which acts as a humectant. It attracts humidity, but there are more natural choices. We don't have to use petrochemically derived agents. And the sodium lauryl sulfate, the lauryl sulfates generally, also have the potential for risks, not just risks to long-term risks to health, but irritation effects. They're not as natural, they're not as good for the body as you would expect them to be if they're in personal care products. And it's probably better to use products without those.
The chemical industry publishes information about hazardous chemicals in their material safety data sheets. Here's what they say about sodium lauryl sulfate. Sodium lauryl sulfate, irritant and strong sensitizer, harmful if inhaled or swallowed, may be harmful if absorbed through the skin, causes severe eye and skin irritation, irritating to mucous membranes and upper respiratory tract. Symptoms of exposure may include burning sensation, coughing, wheezing, laryngitis, shortness of breath, headache, nausea, and vomiting. And what do the material safety data sheets say about propylene glycol? May be harmful by inhalation, ingestion, or skin absorption. May cause eye and skin irritation, gastrointestinal disturbances, nausea, headaches, vomiting, and central nervous system depression. These are only two of the many toxic substances found in personal care products. Others include talc, fluoride, aluminium, mineral oil, and various forms of alcohol. So why are these ingredients in so many of the personal care products we use every day? The answer is they're cheap and appear to do the job. In the United States, personal care products that contain these and other toxic ingredients are compelled by law to include health warnings on the label. This warning is found on a popular brand of bubble bath. Use under adult supervision. Excessive or prolonged exposure may cause irritation to skin and urinary tract. Discontinue use if rash, redness or itching occurs. Consult physician if irritation persists. Avoid eye contact. If contact occurs, rinse with water. Keep out of reach of children. Like most children, they may not only soak in this product, they splash it in their eyes, they suck on washes, and get ingredients into their system. What about toothpaste? Surely it's safe. Many brands of toothpaste and shampoo contain sodium lauryl sulfate. Studies have shown it can damage the immune system, cause separation of skin layers, and severe inflammation of the skin. It's also recognised that absorption can occur very quickly under the tongue, in 30 seconds or less.
The people most vulnerable to toxic chemicals are generally children, infants, pregnant women, the aged and the sick and infirm. So these are the groups that we pay most attention to. But in truth, everybody is susceptible. There's nobody who can afford to just ignore toxic effects on their health. It's by paying attention to those details that we in fact keep our health and remain healthy over a period of time and don't become one of the sick and